Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting and fact-filled episode of Let's Play Megaman Zero. So the last time we conquered the train and saved the abducted cyber elf, and now we're out to find the shuttle that crashed somewhere in the desert. Now this mission is actually our first really lengthy mission, and it's also the first of many trips to this damn desert. Did I say many by any chance? Because, believe me, there's a lot of them. There's like 5, but we'll get into that later. Now, I believe there are 5 cyber elves in this mission, which only one of those is in a container, so the rest you have to get from enemies, but it's not as bad as you think. As long as you kill most of the enemies you come across, you should be able to get them all during the mission without having to farm any enemies or really go out of your way too much. So the elves aren't actually the annoying part of this mission. What makes this mission so damn annoying is the latter half. In fact, the first half of the mission all the way up to the boss, piece of cake. Just as long as you pay attention and don't let any of those condoroids swoop down on you. And something else worth taking note are these tornadoes, or tech twisters, I believe they're called. Now, what I would recommend for you to do on these is either use the buster or the shield boomerang to take them out on hard mode. But if you're using your saber only, then you have to be a lot more careful, because if you look close, you can see like little rocks flying around the tornado. And you have to time your jump just right so you can get close enough to slash the mechanoid, but avoid taking a hit from the rocks, so just be careful when you do that. And we're already at the boss. Now this guy is Anubis Necromancis III, which is obviously a play on the Egyptian god Anubis, and despite being called Necromancis, it's actually a he, so technically he's a necromancer. Which is actually fitting because one of his attacks is to summon some zombie pantheons to attack you. Now this boss only has 3 different attacks, which includes his EX skill. He can summon the zombie pantheons, which will try to grab you, hold you in place, and they will bite your ass. Very hard, too, I might add. Then he'll try to trap you in between 2 pillars, which, if you get stuck in between them, it's an instant death. So if you have to, take a hit from the spikes on top, as this is probably the only time in any Mega Man game where spikes aren't an insta-kill. Now his EX skill is called the Dead Cane, which is where he just throws his staff. Well, I know it says cane, but it's a fucking staff, people. And it travels along the ground. It's a piece of cake to dodge, you just simply have to jump over it. Now this is also the one boss whose elemental weakness makes no fucking sense at all. I mean, his weakness is actually fire, which would therefore mean that his elemental power should be ice. But that makes no sense at all because we're in the middle of a fucking desert. I mean, do you see any ice around? No, just a fuck ton of sand. But okay, whatever. We'll go along with it. I mean, who the hell am I to argue with the logic of Mega Man? As we all know, that's always fucked up in some place or another. And after you beat Anubis and collect what should be your last cyber elf, see, told you they weren't hard to get in this mission. But anyways, once you're done with all that, you'll come across this dumb bastard. Now this is where the level goes from incredibly easy to incredibly annoying with just a simple change of direction. Now that we've found the dipshit that crashed out in the middle of fucking nowhere, we have to lead him all the way back through the level where we started the stage. Now of course he walks a hell of a lot slower than Zero, and if you get too far ahead of him, he'll simply stop, sit his ass down, and wait for you to come back. Which means wasting a hell of a lot of your time, which is very precious in this stage, especially the latter half. And it also makes his ass a big sitting duck, and if he gets hit even once, your mission score goes down. So while the first mission you had to escort Seal, that wasn't too terribly bad, this one is just pure fucking murder. Now, like I said, this is where the stage gets a lot tougher. Mostly because unless you're a fucking genius and can remember where all the condoroids are, then more than likely you're gonna get dive bombed by one, seemingly out of nowhere. And the dipshit following you is probably gonna take a hit. So the best strategy that I've been able to come up with is to keep the reploid at the far back of the screen. Not enough to where he sits his ass down, but, you know, far back enough to where he's not close to you. And constantly jump up in the air. That'll give you a couple extra seconds to take out any condoroids that decide to swoop down on your ass. And as long as you pay attention to what the hell you're doing, you shouldn't get hit by any of the enemies on the ground either. Ah yes, and here's something else you're going to want to take note of. When you collect the cyber elf that's in the container up on that ledge, you're going to want to drop down and take out the little sand twister thingy right below it. Because if you're a moron like I was and skip it, then it's 10 times more difficult to destroy it and make it past this area with the reploid tagging along behind you, as you have a lot less area to work with to take out all the bear traps and shit that just snapped my ass, like that. By the way, the bear traps hurt a lot. So make sure you get all the sand twisters your first time through the stage, And when you're returning home, it'll be, well, not a lot less, but a little less annoying. And anyways, we're almost done. Now, I've read a couple of FAQs that say if you see Joe Dumbass back there is going to take a hit, it's better for Zero to jump in and take the damage instead of the reploid, which is usually pretty good advice, unless you've already taken 4 points of damage, in which case your damage score will start to go down. So yeah, it really doesn't matter. The safest play you can make is to have neither of you take any damage, which is a little difficult, but trust me, it'll pay off in the end. And that's pretty much it for the level. Now, back when I was talking about how to get an S rank and whatnot, I left out the fact that each rank has a various amount of codenames to go along with it. And the longer you maintain a rank, your codename will change and get upgraded. Now, I'll just name the S rank codenames since, you know, those are all that we're going to be dealing with. You start out at Hero, maintain your rank for a couple levels, and you're upgraded to Superhero. Maintain it after that, and you become the Savior. And after that is Immortal. Now, Immortal is the last rank you can get while actually playing, but if you get an S rank for every mission, even the last one, then at the end of the game, you get bumped up to the best code name in the game, which is Master. Which is pretty cool, but it's kind of a bummer that you only get it during the last mission results screen, so yeah, you don't get to savor the flavor very long. Now that we're done with the mission, I'm going to go power up my Cyber Elves so that I can farm some more E-Crystals one last time before I complete the next stage, which will make the farming area inaccessible. Well, now that the mission is over, now is a good time to power up the elves that we do have. Now, after I finish the game, I'll make a video showing the various effects that each elf has. But here's a brief rundown of the ones that we do have now. Now, the 4 medium-sized nurses up in the top area here increase your health bar by a bit, while the 4 medium-sized blue-haired nurses on the bottom turn into the sub-tanks, so that's how you get your sub-tanks and increase your life bar. So basically your nurses increase your life bar and act as your sub-tanks. The smaller nurses will do various things from refilling your life bar to dropping the like life pickups items during the level. Now your green animal elves give Zero certain special abilities, such as immunity from spikes, faster climbing rate, and some will even save you from pits if you fall in them. And finally, your blue hacker elves affect the enemies. They can do anything from freezing enemies in place for a certain amount of time to decreasing the boss's life bar by half. And there's even a couple that will turn all the enemies into the Metars, which are basically those little dudes with the giant-ass helmets from the Classic and X series. So those are pretty useful too, but once again, you don't want to use them because they permanently decrease your score. That's a bummer. And it also seems we're about out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. One thing I will add is that if you're doing the missions in the order that I am, and you're trying to get Jackson, once you power your elves up, go back and farm your E-Crystals to the max before you take on the Retrieve Data mission. Just trust me, you'll thank me later. But, hope to see you all next time when we tackle the short Retrieve Data mission. Yeah, I couldn't think of any stupid comment to make for that one, so fuck it.